What is up, Internet? I'm Charpen, and this review is brought to you by Nostalgia Goggles.
Transformer Cybertron Ultra Class Jetfire.
Oh, that was terrible. Transformer Cybertron Jetfire is an awesome character from the best cartoon ever who has a cool accent that he picked up on a vacation to another planet? How does that work? Who really cares? This is a toy review. This is a figure I've been waiting to get my grubby hands on for quite a long time. You see, back in the ancient times of 2006, in the far-off land of Waldmart, a young Charpen was forced to make a choice between Cybertron Optimus Prime or Cybertron Jetfire. He chose Optimus because why wouldn't you? But he also wanted to one day acquire the elusive Jetfire too, because he's apparently never heard of the term having your cake and eating it too. Fast forward about 12 years, and now he finally has what he's been waiting so long for. He's also still talking about himself in the third person for some reason, and he should probably stop. So, is this figure just as good as 12 years of misguided expectations cracked him up to be? Well, not really. But he's still pretty good. On looks alone, he certainly cuts an impressive image. He has a pretty unique color combination of red, off-white, and pale, sickly green, which along with his size really makes him stand out in a group shot. And his turbine hands and giant wing shoulders take what could have just been intrusive kibble and integrates it into an essential part of his character design. This is a figure that knows how to deal with his alt-mode kibble. But then it immediately makes me eat my own words when you look at the back, or the sides, or anything that isn't a full frontal view. Not only does his transformation stop trying about halfway through, leaving us with a chest part that doesn't exactly have the most secure tab connection, not helped by the fact that his torso sits at kind of an angle to begin with, and this unsightly gap that will make even Studio Series Megatron scoff in disappointment, it's also decided to do absolutely nothing with the Cyber Key gimmick / plain tail assembly, and just goes with sticking it on his back like some kind of awkward looking tail. You're supposed to hinge it up like this to make it look slightly less dumb, but it doesn't exactly like to fit neatly with the wing kibble, and it still looks lazy and clunky anyway. And if this joint were to ever end up loosening it up to the point where it can't hold up its own weight anymore, good luck. But not to beat on the figure too much, the head sculpt is really good. The ear wings and forehead intake, thing, really make it stand out as unique from any other Transformer, or any other Jetfire for that matter. And it's the only part of him that's pure white instead of the silverish off-white. I think I might even be detecting a hint of Macross inspiration in there somewhere. But then again, I could be wrong, I really don't care about Robotech. And I've got to give special attention to the visor. Not only does it look awesome, you can even make out some beady yellow eyes underneath it. Though I'm not quite sure I want to think about what he looked like with the visor off. Now for a figure this chunky and clunky, it's surprisingly actually packing a fair bit of posability. His head seems to be on a ball joint, but all you'll get out of it is some basic rotation and just the tiniest bit of up and down action. His shoulders are a bit of an interesting case, because you wouldn't expect him to have any articulation with these giant wings forming most of his shoulders, and I'm sure a lesser figure would just write off the lack of shoulder movement as a necessary sacrifice and call it a day. But this figure actually goes above and beyond the call of duty by actually managing to pull it off. These entire wing assemblies are attached to the body in a way that lets them rotate up and down like an average shoulder joint. Sure, it isn't exactly the prettiest setup, and they can only just go barely 90 degrees up. But I didn't even think of the possibility that he might not even have basic shoulder articulation in all the 12 years I've been waiting to get my hands on this guy. What I'm trying to say is, I'm a bit of a dingus, and beggars can't be choosers. This guy even manages to incorporate some outward shoulder articulation thanks to these hinges on the wings here. And you can use this transformation joint on the arms to align them independently from the shoulder wings, which lets you angle the wings any way you want while keeping the arms in a neutral position. This is how he looks in most promotional images and in the cartoon, but you can also just leave them down and pointing straight out. You know, if you're boring. His arms have a bicep swivel and a basic 90 degrees of elbow bend, and these turbine bits move up and down to accommodate them. Surprisingly, he has waist rotation too, but it's really more for the transformation and you can't really move it too far because yeah, that happens. Legs can go a decent way up, but just watch out because that loose torso connection puts a kink in things again. They could go a decent way back if that massive backpack didn't keep getting in the way. No matter how far you try to move them outward, some part of the kibble mess on his back is going to get in the way. And speaking of outward movement, it's great. More than you really need, honestly. Unfortunately though, his knees are lacking and you only get about 2.5 ratchet clicks downward. But for some reason you actually get a deeper bend upward. And that's just not right. The legs can swivel all the way around and they can bend inward thanks to this extra transformation joint. This actually helps him to bend his legs to stand up better on his own, even with all that mess on his back. It does look a little goofy, but at least he can actually stand up straight. So I guess if you were really desperate you could prop him up on his kibble tail, you cheater. So on any other figure, this amount of articulation would be pretty standard, or even kind of mediocre. But for a figure that's practically made of kibble like this guy, it's actually pretty impressive. He's not going to be able to pull anything too dynamic, but he can still manage a few good looking poses. As for accessories, all he's got are these two missile launchers with pitifully nerfed launching springs. Frankly, they're kinda boring and nobody really cares anyway. But being a Unicron Trilogy figure, he of course has a couple of gimmicks. First, he has a sound effect gimmick that activates when you press this button, but mine doesn't work because I'm too poor to afford batteries for it. And of course, being a Cybertron figure, he has a Cyber Key Power! It kinda sucks. All it does is raise up this cannon section on the back and extend the barrels a bit. The guns aren't even hidden or anything, they just pop up a bit more. And he can't even fire them without bending over like he's trying to pick up his lost contact lenses. This is probably why he mostly used this in the air in the cartoon. I'm guessing the Cyber Key gimmick also activates some more lights and sound, but again, too poor to afford batteries. So Jetfire's robot mode is honestly an awkward, kibbly mess. Granted, a pretty fun awkward kibbly mess, but a kibbly mess nonetheless. So let's see if all those sacrifices were worth it for his play mode. Start off by opening the panel under the head, flip it down, and then close the panel back up. Hinge up the nose cone torso and push in these hip-mounted missile pods, which by the way pop out when you tap the chest back into robot mode. That's pretty cool. Hinge the body up and hinge the waist assembly up along with it. And then you have awkward Gerwalk mode. Yeah, let's not. Bend the arms all the way and push in the hands. Just be careful trying to get them back out. They'll slide out a bit when you pull the arms down, but it's still kind of tricky. Flip up these red bits and push the arms all the way back. Then swivel them up and tab them into the wings. Swivel the waist sideways like this, fold in the toes and fold the legs up. Make sure to tap this leg into the nose cone section and then fold down the tail end and tap it into this leg. Flip up these winglets and finally put the guns onto the wingtip. The transformation is the usual Cybertron blend of simplicity and overall fun factor. You can tell as soon as you look at this thing how it's going to transform, but that doesn't make it any less of a fun time every time you do it. And the end result is pretty darn impressive. Thanks to the sacrifices made to the robot mode, the vehicle mode is almost 100% kibble free, unless you count the head there, but if you do, you're honestly just nitpicking. They even managed to hide the legs, the infamous foe of any flying alt mode transformer, by making them turn into the cargo hold for the play mode. That's actually really clever. Good job, Hashtag. You made me even more ashamed of how far you've fallen. Of course, the missile launchers still work in this mode, and so does the Cyber Key gimmick, by flipping the entire tail assembly over like this. But it just makes them look pretty ridiculous. And I'm guessing the sound gimmick still works here too, but again, no batteries. Not only does this play mode look good, it's also pretty darn big. Probably somewhere around the size of Studio Series Blackout, which I still don't have yet, all your aftermarket prices. Just the sheer heft of him alone makes him a blast to just pick up and hold. This guy's built like a Antov AN225. Nailed it. They just don't build him like this. He's so big that you can even have smaller figures ride on him. I mean, look at this guy, he's surfing an airplane. How could that not be the coolest thing ever? Even in robot mode, with all that kibbly junk taking up a lot of its mass, Jetfire has the height you'd expect from a figure in the late Ultra class. Rest in peace. He stands roughly head and shoulders taller than your average Voyager, though not quite as tall as an average Leader, and makes for a pretty good centerpiece for an Autobot display. Though his large size and impressive wingspan means that he should probably stay somewhere at the back of your shelf. So overall, how does this figure hold up? Well, if I'm being honest, not too great. The play mode is honestly fantastic, but the robot mode is honestly a kibble nightmare. I have to give it credit for managing to squeeze so much playability out of its robot mode, but it's clear that the play mode and the Cyber Key gimmick took priority over the robot mode. And even I have to admit that I have to do a fair bit of blindly ignoring things I don't want to admit to see past all that ugly kibble. That said though, does this figure hold up under 12 years of glowing nostalgic admiration for a figure that I didn't even expect to have shoulder joints? You bet your Cyber Key it does! Even with all of this figure's flaws, my extreme nostalgia for Cybertron and the figure itself makes all of that crap null and void. I still love this thing absolutely regardless. So objectively, this figure's really just decent. Probably even just mediocre. But if you're as much of a blindly nostalgic Transformers Cybertron apologist as I am, you're probably not listening to a word I'm saying because you're already out buying one. But to be perfectly honest, we're clearly ignoring the real value here. It came with one of those Cyber Key masks. Any of you Cybertron kids remember these things? The file for the planet leader, the random screenshots from the cartoon, this image of Cybertron that you had to collect all 4 maps to complete, and the best part, this mini brochure of all the toys your parents couldn't afford to buy for you. You will be mine someday, Yvette, just as soon as I make about 1 billion YouTube videos. By the way, for any of you wondering what that Megatron review I said I was going to do last time is, let's just say me and him have a bit of a history, and I really wasn't in the mood to try and review him so soon. But I will get to it next time. The next review, for sure, is going to be him.